Okay, so I had mentioned a while back that I don't think that ramp tests are good. So the question is, why did I say that? Um, so I'll back up and say they can be good, they can be accurate, but it's kind of largely due to chance when they are accurate, and not whether well, okay, so let me explain. So when you do a ramp test, you're effectively doing a VO2 max test. That's how VO2 max tests are done. The specific protocol kind of varies, but in essence, it's usually a stepped test where you are bringing the intensity up to and then over threshold. And because of something called the VO2 slow component, whenever you ride over threshold at any intensity, even 101% of your threshold intensity, eventually you are going to reach VO2 max. So what is VO2 max? It's maximal oxygen uptake. It's the most oxygen that you can utilize during exercise, and it's typically expressed as milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute. So backing up again, we think of VO2 max power is usually kind of your 3 to 5 minute maximal power. But because, like I mentioned, you can get to VO2 max anytime you ride at an intensity over threshold. Like I said, if you ride at 101% of your threshold, you're going to reach VO2 max. It's going to take a while, but you will get there eventually. And so because of that, there is no such thing as VO2 max power, because it could take 8 to 10 minutes, it could take 15 minutes even, or it could take 1 to 2 minutes if you're really if you're going super hard, significantly over your FTP. So that's kind of a story for another day, and I do want to get into that at some point, but for our purposes, we'll consider your maximal 3 to 5 minute power. We'll call that VO2 max power, even though it technically doesn't exist. It's kind of semantics, but it is something that gets under my skin, and so I'm gonna kind of harp on that a little bit. So for most people, VO2 max power, or your 3 to 5 minute power, is somewhere around 120% of your FTP, or your FTP is going to be somewhere at like 75 to 85% of your VO2 max power, or your 3 to 5 minute max power. So a ramp test, which is actually a VO2 max test, can be a good estimator of your FTP if your VO2 max power is right around 120% of your FTP. And that is going to be the case for most folks. However, not everyone. And there are some really big outliers. People with really good anaerobic power will be well over 120% when their 3 to 5 minute power will be well over 120% of their FTP. Oftentimes masters, particularly masters women, will be well under 120%. Of their 3 to 5 minute power will be well under 120% of their FTP. And then there are also random outliers as well. This is something that's trainable, but a lot of it is just innate physiology. And those people who are not in that 120% 3 to 5 minute of their FTP, they're never going to get an accurate result out of a ramp test. Now, to me, it's a little bit mind-blowing. There's a certain web-based training company that has based virtually their entire training protocol on ramp tests, and they have an updated assessment now, which I'm very curious to know what I have a guess what their algorithm is, but story for another day. At any rate, they based a ton of their training on ramp tests and insisted that this was accurate for virtually everyone. And that's kind of baffling to me, because I have a much smaller sample size, and I see this be inaccurate for folks in my much smaller sample size pretty regularly. So it's something that I can't quite wrap my head around, but again, it's kind of irrelevant. So that is the reason. If your 3 to 5 minute power is right around 120% of your FTP, a ramp test will give you a pretty darn accurate FTP assessment. But if you're not, good luck, because a ramp test is really not going to be accurate for you.